Have you ever felt this strange pressure in your chest? Like you need to say something important, but you have no idea how to get it out? Yeah, you're not alone. That instinct, the urge to tell a story, is older than language, older than cities, older than every tool we've ever built. It's baked into our DNA. So today I want to share 5 reasons why you should make films, especially if you think you're not ready, not talented enough, or don't know where to begin. Because honestly, that's where every great filmmaker starts. Hello, I'm Miguel Parga, best-selling author of What They Didn't Teach You in Film School and Make Your Own Movies. I've spent the last 18 years teaching thousands of storytellers how to make films that actually mean something. Let's dive right in. If you were born 200,000 years ago, no one handed you a survival guide. The world was dangerous. You didn't have claws or armor or speed. You had a brain. And that brain learned through stories. Picture this: a dark cave, a fire, shadows dancing on the wall. One person stands up and begins to speak. Not just to entertain, but to teach. This plant will kill you. This path leads to the river. Don't go out at night. That's when the big cat hunts. Stories were memory technology. They made information sticky. If a member of the tribe traveled, the story traveled with them, and so the knowledge survived. We are descendants of the people who were good at remembering and telling stories. That's why your brain lights up when someone starts telling one. It's not random, it's evolution. And that brings me to the modern version of those cave wall shadows. Now, when I teach scene writing, there's something students struggle with. Language is a terrible tool for communicating emotion. We think it's precise, but it's not. If I say, meet me at 2 p.m., we're fine. It's logical, it's clear. But if I say, I love you, suddenly things get complicated. My definition of love might be different from yours. Your definition might be shaped by your childhood, your heartbreak, your dreams. We can try to explain it, but words can only get us so far. I can't crawl into your brain and see what you see. But art gets around that problem. When you paint, write music, or make a film, you're bypassing the logical brain and speaking directly to the emotional center. You're saying, here, feel this. Art is the emotional USB cable that plugs one human brain into another. That's why we created it. That's why we keep creating it. And film, well, if you think about it, movies shouldn't even exist. They're basically thousands of still images tricking our brain into seeing motion. It's a magic trick. When the Lumiere brothers invented the motion picture camera, one of them, Auguste Lumiere, famously said, "This is an invention without a future." Then along came people like Georges Méliès and Edwin S. Porter, cutting film, rearranging time, inventing cinematic language almost by accident. And suddenly, humanity discovered a new superpower: the ability to place someone inside an experience. Movies hit every sense: sight, sound, rhythm, emotion. They're engines of empathy. When the lights go down, you're not watching a story, you're living it. For 2 hours, you are John Wick without ever being punched in the face. You're Rose on Titanic without freezing in the North Atlantic. You're the hero, the villain, the wanderer, the lover. You don't need to speak the language. You don't need education or context. There are videos online of babies watching the Star Wars trailer. Babies. And their eyes widen, their mouths open, their faces tell you everything. They feel it. Film doesn't explain emotion. Film transmits emotion. And if you're someone who's always been pulled towards movies, that leads into. Let me tell you a story. One of my earliest memories is being about 4 years old in Puerto Rico. It was the 70s. We didn't get a lot of films back then, and when we did, they came late after the Prince had finished their mainland run. So when Jaws finally showed up, my mom took me, yes, a 4-year-old, to Jaws. She brought me because this was the movie, the blockbuster of the year. You didn't skip the cultural event just because your kid might be traumatized. Now, as a kid, I carried toy cowboy guns everywhere. And at the moment the shark finally revealed itself, I stood up, aimed at the screen, and shot the shark dead. The whole theater erupted into laughter. I don't remember the whole moment, but I remember the feeling right before I stood. The tension, the instinct, that certainty that I had to do something. And from that day on, I was obsessed. Anything that could make me feel that strongly, command my imagination that completely, well, that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you have your own version of that moment. Which brings us to the final reason. Most people never think about it this way, but filmmaking is, at its core, an act of service. Because when people walk into a theater, they're not just buying a ticket. They're asking you to carry them somewhere their own life can't take them. They come to feel the fear without the danger, to feel love without the heartbreak, to feel courage without the wounds. For a little while, they get to step out of their own skin and borrow someone else's existence. For a little while, they get to dream. That's why horror hits. That's why action hits. That's why romance hits. Not because of the monsters or explosions or the kisses, but because for 2 hours we get to explore parts of ourselves that real life won't always let us touch. Think about Titanic. It wasn't the ship, it wasn't the costumes, it was the universal longing we all carry. The desire for a love so overwhelming that someone would give everything, even their life, for us. And for the price of a movie ticket, Leonardo DiCaprio does it for us. We feel the sacrifice, the beauty, the heartbreak, and we walk out of the theater unchanged, but not really. We're changed in the places that matter. That is service. And service, true service, is one of the most meaningful things a human being can offer. So if you've ever felt that pull inside of you, that quiet urge to give people something valuable, something emotional, something, lives inside of you, but you're not sure how to release, then filmmaking might be the language your soul has been waiting for. Because when you give an audience even a tiny transformation, a moment of clarity, a moment of truth, a moment of feeling, you give them meaning. And in the process, you give yourself meaning. And that loop, that exchange of humanity, is why we create anything at all. If anything in this video resonated, hit the like button so the algorithm knows people should see this. And if you're ready to take the first step towards the films you know you're meant to make, start where it truly matters, with the story. I've got a mini course called From Meh to Masterpiece, the secret code behind every great story. The link is below. Go tell the story only you can tell. And remember, don't just direct your movies, direct your life.